You're the sniper who let me live. My name is Thomas Edward Brennan. I'm 89 years old now, but in June 1944, I was only 22. I was a paratrooper with the 101st Airborne Division, 506th Parachute Infantry Regiment, Easy Company. And on a dark night over Normandy, I fell from the sky straight into enemy territory, alone, wounded, unarmed. I should have died there. Every rule of war said I would die, but a German sniper saw me through his rifle scope and chose not to shoot for one reason alone. To this day I wake up sweating, remembering everything I lived through that day. The night of the jump was chaotic from the start. I remember the roar of the C-47's engines, that constant noise that vibrated in your bones, and the smell of aviation oil mixed with the sweat of 40 terrified men pretending to be calm. Nobody talked much. Some prayed quietly, moving their lips without sound. Others checked their equipment for the 10th time: buckles, carabiners, the static line that would open the parachute. I had nearly 50 kilos of equipment hanging on my body: ammunition, grenades, canteen, folding shovel, medical kit, K rations. It felt like I was going to sink into the ground when I landed, if I landed at all. We had trained for months for this, jumped dozens of times at Fort Benning and in England, but nothing, absolutely nothing, prepares you to jump in the dark over Nazi-occupied territory, knowing that half the guys on the plane might not see dawn. Sergeant Miller, sitting in front of me, had his eyes closed. I don't know if he was praying or just trying not to throw up. I held tight to the main parachute strap and breathed deep, counting the seconds, waiting for the red light to come on so we'd stand up, waiting for the green light to jump. You never forget those last minutes inside the plane. Your whole body shakes, not from cold, but from pure adrenaline. Your muscles tense up, your stomach turns, your mouth goes dry. And then you hear the jumpmaster yell, "Stand up, hook up!" We stood up in line, connected the static line to the steel cable running along the plane's ceiling. "Check equipment!" Each man checked the equipment of the guy in front. "Sound off for equipment check!" From back to front, each one shouted, 10 OK! 9 OK! Until it got to me. 1 OK! I was first in line, first to jump. The red light came on. My heart was beating so hard I felt it in my temples. The jumpmaster opened the side door, and the wind came in like a hurricane, bringing the cold of the night and the smell of wet earth from below. Outside was just darkness, nothing but absolute black. Suddenly, the plane shook violently. A loud metallic boom, flak. German anti-aircraft artillery, orange explosions lit up the sky for fractions of a second. I saw another C-47 to the right catch fire on the wing, start spiraling down. The jumpmaster shouted something I didn't hear because of the noise, but I saw the green light come on. It was time. Go, go, go. I took 3 quick steps and threw myself into the void. The wind hit me like a punch. For 2 seconds, you're free-falling, and your stomach rises to your throat, and you don't know if the parachute will open. Then comes the violent jerk when the static line does its job and the parachute opens. My body was thrown upward with brutal force. The straps cut into my thighs and shoulders, even through my uniform, but I was alive. I was descending. I looked up and saw the white canopy of the parachute against the dark sky, and for a moment, just a moment, I felt relief. Until I looked around, I was alone. There was nobody else in the sky near me. Had the others jumped? Had the plane veered off? I didn't know. Below me everything was too dark. I couldn't identify anything. No fields, no roads, no lights, just pitch black. And then I heard the sound. Tracer bullets cutting through the sky, rising in my direction like deadly fireworks. The Germans were shooting at me. I pulled on the parachute straps trying to maneuver, but you don't have much control. You're just a floating target, slow, defenseless. I heard the buzz of projectiles passing close, that high-pitched, terrifying sound you never forget. One of them passed so close, I felt the air displacement on my cheek. My God, I thought, I'm going to die before I hit the ground. I tried to curl up, make myself smaller, but with all that equipment it was impossible. And then, out of nowhere, I felt a strong impact on my left shoulder. It wasn't immediate pain, it was more like someone had pushed me hard. It took me a second to understand I'd been shot. Blood started flowing hot inside my shirt. The pain came later, sharp, throbbing. But I didn't have time to think about it. The ground was coming fast, too fast. I hit a tree. Branches broke as my body passed through them, and then the parachute got tangled in the higher branches, and I was left hanging about 3 meters from the ground, swinging like a pendulum. The pain in my shoulder exploded. I groaned, but tried to stay quiet. I heard voices. German. They were close, very close. I froze there, hanging, bleeding, trying not to make noise. My hands trembled as I tried to reach for the combat knife strapped to my boot. I needed to free myself from that tree. I needed to get down, but every movement made the equipment swing and make noise, and the voices were getting closer. I breathed through my mouth slowly, trying to control the panic. That's when I realized my rifle had fallen. I'd lost the M1 Garand in the impact with the tree. I searched for the pistol in the holster, but it was empty. The pistol had also fallen. I was unarmed, wounded and unarmed in enemy territory. This is every soldier's worst nightmare. You become just meat, just a body waiting to die. I managed to cut the parachute straps and fall to the ground. It was an ugly fall. My ankle twisted and a new wave of pain shot up my leg. I bit my lip hard to keep from screaming. I lay there for a few seconds, trying to orient myself. The night was quieter now. The German voices had moved away, but I knew they were searching. They always searched. I tried to stand up, but my leg wouldn't support my weight. I fell to my knees. My shoulder was bleeding heavily. I could feel the blood running down my arm, hot and sticky. I needed to stop the bleeding. I pulled a bandage from the medical kit still attached to my waist and tried to make a dressing, but with only one hand, and in the dark, it was almost impossible. I managed to stuff the gauze inside my shirt, pressing against the wound. It hurt like hell. You know that pain that makes you dizzy, that makes everything blurry and you have to fight not to pass out? That was it. I knew I had to move. Staying still was dying, but where to? I didn't know where I was. I had no map, no compass. I'd lost everything in the jump. I couldn't see any reference, any known point, just dark fields and the outline of trees against the sky. I started to crawl, literally crawl on the ground like a wounded animal, using my elbows and good leg to pull myself. Every movement was agony. My shoulder throbbed, my leg hurt, my breathing came in short, quick gasps. But I continued. You don't stop. No matter how much pain you feel, you don't stop, because stopping is dying. I dragged myself for maybe 50 meters until I found a drainage ditch. It was deep enough to hide me. I rolled into it and stayed there, curled up, trying to make myself invisible. The ditch had ice-cold water at the bottom, and in seconds I was soaked and shivering. But at least I was hidden. At least I had some protection. I stayed there listening, distant sounds of explosions, bursts of machine gun fire far away, occasional voices in German. The sky began to lighten slowly, that dark blue that comes before dawn. And that's when I realized how screwed I was. I was behind enemy lines, alone, wounded, unarmed. No food, no water, no communication. Nobody knew where I was. I didn't even know where I was. Chances of survival, close to zero. Have you ever felt that? That moment where you understand you're going to die? It's not panic, it's stranger than that. It's a kind of cold acceptance. I remember thinking, so this is it. This is where it ends. But something inside me refused to accept it. Something stubborn and stupid that made me want to keep trying. I waited until the sun rose completely, and then, carefully, I lifted my head above the edge of the ditch. My heart almost stopped. 100 meters away, there was a farm, and around it, German soldiers, many. I counted at least 15. They had machine gun positions set up, sandbags piled up, vehicles parked. It was a fortified position, and I was right in the middle of their territory. I went back into the ditch, trembling, not from cold, but from pure fear. Would you do the same? If you were in my place, wounded, alone, surrounded by Germans, what would you do? I had two options: stay there and wait, or try to move. Staying meant probably dying from blood loss or being found. Moving meant being seen and killed immediately. Neither was good. I decided to wait until nightfall. At least in the dark I'd have some chance. I spent the entire day in that ditch. It was the longest day of my life. The pain in my shoulder got worse. The bandage had soaked through with blood. I knew I needed medical treatment, but there was no way to get it. I drank dirty water from the ditch because I was desperate with thirst. I ate half a K ration I still had in my pocket. I stayed there freezing, bleeding, listening to the Germans talk and laugh at the farm. They seemed so normal, so human. It was strange to think that if they saw me, they'd kill me without hesitation. In the afternoon I started running a fever. My forehead was burning, but I was shivering with cold. Infection, probably. The wound was getting infected. I knew I was getting weaker. Each hour that passed, I felt dizzier, more disconnected. I started having strange thoughts. I thought about my mother in Boston, probably praying for me. I thought about the girl I'd left behind, Sally, who'd written me saying she'd wait for me. I thought about the boys from Easy Company. Had they managed to regroup? Were they looking for me? Or was I just another MIA missing in action, a name on a list? When the sun started to set, I knew I had to move. Staying there another night was suicide. I left the ditch slowly, every movement calculated. My leg barely supported my weight, and I was limping badly. My shoulder had stopped bleeding so much, but it hurt terribly. I started moving away from the farm, using the trees as cover. I went from tree to tree, pausing, listening, advancing. It was getting dark fast, and I knew I needed to find somewhere safe before night fell completely. That's when I heard the click, that metallic sound, unmistakable, of a rifle being cocked. I froze. My blood turned to ice. I turned my head slowly, very slowly, and there he was, a German soldier about 20 meters away, standing behind a tree. He was pointing a rifle at me, a Kar 98K. I recognized the weapon. And from the scope on the rifle, he was a sniper, a sharpshooter. Our eyes met. Even in the faint light of dusk, I could see his face. Young, maybe younger than me, thin face, light-colored eyes. And that rifle pointed straight at my chest. I raised my hand slowly. I had no weapon to reach for. I had nothing. I was completely at his mercy. Bitte, I said, please. It was the only German word I knew. Bitte. He didn't say anything, just stood there, aiming at me. I could see his finger on the trigger. All he had to do was squeeze. 1 second, less than a second, and I'd be dead. We stayed like that for an eternity. Or maybe it was only 10 seconds. I don't know. Time stopped. I could hear my own heart beating, could hear my rapid, shallow breathing. I was waiting for the bullet. Waiting for the impact. You know what goes through your head when you have a gun pointed at you? It's not your life flashing before your eyes. It's nothing poetic like that. It's just fear, pure and simple fear. And a strange anger that it's going to end this way, stupid and alone in a field in France. The sniper lowered his eye to the optical sight. I saw it. He was lining up the shot. This was it. But then he stopped. He looked at me again, not through the scope, but directly. His eyes traveled over my body. The torn uniform dirty with blood, the improvised bandage on my shoulder, the way I could barely stand, the fact that my hands were empty, unarmed, wounded, not a threat. I was just a broken soldier, more dead than alive. And then he did something I'll never understand. He lowered the rifle, not completely, but enough. And with his free hand, he made a gesture, a firm movement with his head, pointing left, away from the farm, toward an area of denser trees. "Gah," he said quietly. "Go." I didn't move, couldn't believe it. Was it a trap? Would he shoot me in the back when I turned? "Gah," he repeated, louder this time, more urgent. And I understood. He was sending me away, letting me go. He was giving me a chance. I don't know what made me trust him. Maybe it was desperation. Maybe it was the way he'd looked at me, not with hatred, but with something that seemed like pity, recognition, as if he saw in me not an enemy, but just another fucked-up soldier trying to survive. I took a step back, slowly, still with my hands raised. He didn't shoot. I took another step. He lowered the rifle completely, but kept his eyes on me. I turned and started walking, limping, expecting the bullet every second. 10 meters, 20, 30, nothing. He didn't shoot. When I reached the trees, I looked back one last time. He was still there, standing, watching me. And then he turned and went back into the forest, disappearing among the shadows. I fell to my knees right there, trembling uncontrollably. It wasn't just the cold or the pain, it was everything. All the fear, all the stress, all the adrenaline coming out at once. I was sobbing and didn't even know why. Relief, terror, gratitude, all together. I stayed there for a few minutes, just trying to breathe, trying to process what had just happened. A German sniper had caught me unarmed and wounded. He could have killed me, should have killed me, but he didn't. Why? To this day, I don't know. I spent the next 2 days dragging myself through occupied France. It was a nightmare of pain, hunger, fever, and fear. I slept in ditches, drank water from puddles, ate grass when desperation hit. I avoided German patrols by pure instinct. On the third night, I heard English, American voices. I almost cried with relief. I came out of the forest staggering and almost got shot by our own guys because I looked like a zombie. But the sergeant from the 82nd Airborne recognized me as one of ours. They took me to a field medical station. The medic said I'd been lucky. The bullet had gone through my shoulder without hitting anything vital. A few more days without treatment, and I would have died from sepsis. But I survived. Against all odds, I survived. I returned to Easy Company 2 weeks later. Many of the boys didn't come back. I learned that our plane had deviated from the route because of the flak. Half the stick had landed miles away from the objective. Some guys were captured, others killed. I was lucky. But it wasn't just luck, was it? It was that German sniper. He gave me a chance when he didn't have to. He saw me as a human being, not as a target. And that saved me. During the rest of the war, I thought about him constantly. Who was he? What was his name? Did he survive the war? Did he go home to his family? Or did he die in some trench, in some bombing, in some forgotten place? I'll never know. After the war, I tried to find information about him. I wrote letters, searched archives, talked to German veterans. Nothing. He was a ghost. But he was real. I know that. I saw his eyes, and he saw me. That moment changed something in me. Changed how I saw the war, how I saw the enemy. We were trained to think of the Germans as monsters, as something less than human. But that guy wasn't a monster. He was just a soldier like me, trapped in a war neither of us had started, just trying to survive, like me. He could have killed me. It was his job. It was what was expected of him. But he chose to let me live. And that choice, that single decision by one man in a dark field in Normandy, is the reason I'm here today, 89 years old, telling this story. Sometimes I wake up in the middle of the night and still see that rifle pointed at me, still see those eyes looking at me through the scope, still hear the word, "Gare," go. And I wonder, does he remember me? Does he think about that moment? Or am I just another enemy soldier he let pass, forgotten long ago? I wish I could have thanked him, shaken his hand, said, "You gave me a life. You gave me a future. Because of you, I went home, got married, had children, saw my grandchildren grow up. And because of him, I had all of that." How do you thank someone you'll never see again, someone who probably doesn't even know the impact they had? You can't. You just live. You live the best life you can and hope that somehow that's enough. Hope that somehow it's worth the act of mercy he gave you. That's my story. The story of how an enemy saved me. The story of how war, for a brief moment, stopped being about killing and became about letting live. I'll never forget that German sniper. He's part of me now forever, and wherever he is, alive or dead, I pray that he had a good life. He deserved it. God knows he deserved it.